can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Okay, very good. Very happy to be here. Even on short notice, we always like to get out, especially to groups like this, where we can get messages out that really have an impact on a lot of people. My name is Dave Margritz. I'm a postal inspector based out of Omaha, Nebraska here. I'm going to cover a lot of things today about what we do and what the hot topics we're currently seeing. And as I go, you can stop me at any time. I'm usually pretty good about finding my way back. So you can ask questions, or I'll take questions at the end, whichever you prefer. Well, the mission of the Postal Inspection Service is to protect the Postal Service, its employees and customers from criminal attack, and protect the mail from criminal misuse. And it's really the heart of what we do. We work assaults, robberies on our employees, all of us. We work crimes, mail fraud, drugs through the mail theft, mail bombs, all sorts of stuff that we cover. And that's our main mission. We're the nation's oldest federal law enforcement agency. We were founded by Benjamin Franklin. He was considered to be a postal inspector, to give you some historical perspective as to how far back we go. We're federal agents. We're 1811 series. I've been in 19 years. We can go at 20. We have to go at age 57. So I can stay another year, and I have to go about 6 years after that. There's approximately 1,250 inspectors around the country. If I was giving this presentation 10 years ago, that number would have been about 2,000. So like a lot of other things, we've gotten smaller. There's 6 inspectors here in Nebraska. We're all based out of Omaha. We cover all of Nebraska and southwest Iowa, the 515, 516 zip codes, to align ourselves with the Central Plains District. We investigate postal offenses. So we carry firearms, we make arrests, serve search warrants, all things you'd expect from a foreign law enforcement agency. This is a shot of us here at the shooting range. We qualify twice a year with shooting. One time I showed this slide and someone said, "There's no women in your picture." And I said, well, we had one, she was promoted, she's our boss, one of our bosses in him. So that's what happens, we get good ones, they get promoted. So that's the only reason there's not a female in that picture. Here's a shot, postal inspectors making arrests. Usually we're plain clothes, but if we're going on an arrest, then of course we'll wear the raid jackets, things like that, the insignia, so that our fellow officers know who's friend and who's foe. It's a very important thing. The badge, the gun, the crime scene tape, all that stuff that you would expect to see. Now there's 2 different agencies. Hopefully you're all familiar with the Postal OIG also. Okay. The first few years of their existence, we didn't always get yeses on that, but they've been around now since 1996. Basically, us, the postal inspectors, we investigate external crimes, and they do a lot of internal stuff on a basic level. But we do security of postal facilities. We do dangerous mails like powders and anthrax. A big part of our job. We get a lot of call-outs on those. Mail fraud, internet fraud, identity theft. They should say child pornography in the mail, and that will actually solve the problem and virtually eliminated it because most of that's moved to the internet. So it's rare that we can eliminate a problem, but we did on that. You know, they used to mail these tapes, and now, of course, they do it through the internet and cable modems because they don't want to wait. Money laundering, frauds against businesses and consumers, those are still real rampant. And fraud, even if a lot of it is through email, if even a piece is through the mail, then we can get involved. So say you get a solicitation through an email, and then they want you to mail a check, then we've got it. So I'm always looking for mail, because I have to have mail. There's a lot of good crimes out there, but without mail, I can't work it. It doesn't mean other agencies can't, like the FBI can and stuff like that. But yes.
Do you get the charge for both places, the internet and the mail?
Yes. Not that we'll charge it, yes, mail fraud and wire fraud. Because wire fraud would be fax, telephone, use of the internet. So yeah, the prosecutors will charge them with everything, but for us as an agency to work it, for me to be able to open up a case and get my boss's approval, I've got to have a piece of mail. So that's what I'm looking for. The Office of Inspector General, the OIG, we have a good relationship with them. A lot of them are former postal inspectors. They investigate workers' compensation fraud. There's some of that out there, unfortunately. Yes, employee misconduct, embezzlements, and thefts. Like any organization, we see that. They work other things too, computer crimes, contract fraud, that type of thing. Here's a shot from a workers' compensation case. This guy was a postal employee, and he said he hurt his shoulder. He couldn't lift more than 5 pounds and reach above his shoulder. Now, I lift weights, and then it's 45 and then 25. I mean, you're probably lifting a couple hundred pounds. You know, he's bench pressing. He was a competitive weightlifter, competing while he said he couldn't lift more than 5 pounds. So obviously that was a problem, and he was removed, in fact. There he is there. Oh wait, and he did hurt himself in the weightlifting competition, though. He tried to deadlift 415 pounds. Yeah, that was too much. He got 2 years in jail and was ordered to pay restitution of $190,000. And this was a tip from a fellow worker. This guy was actually bragging about how he was gaming the system. Not a smart thing to do when you're surrounded by honest, hardworking people who did the right thing and reported it. You know, so because that's money off the bottom line, and that just shouldn't happen. If someone's injured legitimately, of course, pay them whatever they deserve. But that obviously is a different story. Anybody know who that is there? The Unabomber, yes. Yep. Ted Kaczynski, Unabomber. He created a lot of problems for us over the years. Over 20-some years, he had that terror campaign, sending a lot of mail bombs, and he finally got caught. He had a huge ego, just because he was probably more brilliant than all of us combined, but he was quite disturbed. And he wrote this manifesto that he wanted to be published in the newspapers. And so there was a big disagreement, should we publish this or not, give this whack job a forum, but it was decided to do that, and then someone recognized his writing style. It was this person called in and said, I think I know who the Unabomber is. I will tell you if you agree not to execute this person. It's a fair trade. This guy killed several people. You know, life in Supermax in Colorado, he's not going to escape from there. So they struck the deal, and his brother turned him in, and it was in fact him. His cabin there in Montana is now at the Smithsonian. It was shipped over there, and it's in the museum now. Yeah, it was such a big thing. Now, the mail bombs, a lot of people get worried about those. The odds of you individually receiving a mail bomb or an anthrax or ricin letter are about 1 in 10 billion. Now, other odds in life, you're much more likely to get struck by lightning or win the state lottery, or probably both on the same day. You know? So we tell people to be alert but not lose sleep over it, you know, because it does happen, but it's not that common. Over the past 5 years, less than 4 mail bombings per year. It's real rare, and most people aren't real good at constructing a mail bomb. The Unabomber was because he had a lot of time on his hands, and that's all he did. But your average person, if they build a device, is going to injure someone, but probably not kill them, like there. Same with the powders. So we'll talk about the anthrax. You know, that was a huge thing in 2001. Fortunately, we haven't had any since then. There's been a couple possible ricin ones, but nobody was seriously injured in any of those. We do a lot of presentations at mail rooms for companies and businesses. They say, you know, what do I look for in a mail bomb? Restricted markings. You might say personal and confidential. They might have it addressed to the CEO or president, and they want it to go right to her. They don't want someone in the mail room to open it up, so they might do that. They might have excessive postage stamps because they're going to try to drop it off somewhere and not be seen. They don't want to go to the counter. They're going to try to put it in a box. Incorrect title because they might not know exactly what it is. Fictitious or no return address. On business mail, that would be unusual to have no return address. Excessive weight, you know, because of the device. Protruding wires or foil. That's always a good sign, obviously. Excessive tape, oil stains, or discoloration. No. I've x-rayed a lot of packages over the years, and all but one turned out to not be a bomb. One time I worked out in Des Moines, we got this call on this device, the postmaster out in eastern Iowa said, oh, there's this thing, you know, someone's trying to make us think it's a bomb, and they left it out next to our blue collection box. I brought it inside, it's in my office now. So I go out there and x-ray it. I said my thing, I said, well, what would we be looking for if this were a bomb? Or we'd be looking for a pipe like this. We'll look at the picture. I said, you'd also be looking for a power source like this battery you see here on the screen. A lot of times they have shrapnel like these nails. And of course you have a switching mechanism like this switch here. And he turned white. It suddenly dawned on him he was looking at an actual bomb that he'd been carrying around quite a bit. You don't do that. You leave it in place, you know, because they're not timed. I mean, if that had gotten loose and open, it would have gone off. And so the state fire marshal was there. They hit it with a water cannon and disrupted it. And I encourage you next time to call us before you moved it. You know, because there are bomb robots. There's other things we can do. I think he's not going to carry one of those around again. That was a real bomb, but someone had placed there. Top reason why people send mail bombs. A lot of times the bomb goes to a company is people will think, well, what does this company do? Why would somebody be mad at them? It's not. It's all personal. It's a love triangle. Some guy, his wife or girlfriend left him, and so instead of getting a divorce, he wants to blow her up. You know, it's an odd way of dealing with it, but people do that. You have a disgruntled former employee. Judges get a lot of bombs. We even had one up in Michigan where the same company got bombs in 2 different locations. So right away we're thinking, okay, someone does not like this company. Wrong. The guy wanted to blow up a girl at one place. He sent the other one to distract us and make us think it was directed at the company. So he was willing to hurt or kill numerous, people just to get her. Very sad. We have posters that we give out that have these. It's got the indications that we have for the bombs that we talked about there. Another poster there, the different indicators. And of course, it doesn't always meet those, but it could. And some really large companies have their own X-ray machines, because we come out as something that's suspicious. But certainly, if you have a business that's large and has money and wants to set up their own X-ray equipment in their mailroom, they can do that. They could X-ray this thing themselves then. We see a lot of threatening communications. This letter came out a few years ago. I got an email from our top boss in Denver, another female, Kathy Roberts. She sent me an email and said, Dave, I need you to go to Hooters. And I thought, okay, someone's hacked her email. Why would the INC want me to go to Hooters? Hooters had got this letter at 80 locations around the country. A feminist group was targeting them. They said that a bomb had already been placed in their building. It's been there for 6 days. It's set to go off Friday, right before the lunch hour, on a specific date. If you choose to stay open, God help you type of thing. So of course, we had the bomb squad come in after hours and sweep this place. There's no bombs in there. And we screened their mail that whole week, to make sure there was no bombs. We X-rayed it first and brought it there. And I told them, I said, I'm so confident and say, I'll come out there and eat lunch on Friday at that time. I do not think there's a bomb here. And I did. We had Luke Helder. This actually came up today in the Postal Newswire. He just came up for a hearing. He was a smiley face bomber. I don't know if any of you remember him back 2002. I got some pictures coming up here. They're trying to get him to stand trial now because he was deemed insane, which he is. And so he wasn't able to stand trial at the time. Several people were injured. He started in Iowa and Illinois, Nebraska, Colorado, and Texas. And once he got to Nebraska, this guy, he knows what cops do when there's a bombing. They have a war room, there's a map, and he knew if he picked the right towns, he would make a smiley face. Okay. Very unique and innovative. We hadn't really seen that before. And so he done that, and then he did one in Colorado and Texas, and then he was arrested in Nevada. And they asked him why Nevada, and he said, well, he was overcome with a sudden urge to suddenly see the ocean. Now he's in Texas, and that would have been a lot closer to the Gulf, but he drove all the way across there. He was quite the one. Here's the towns in Nebraska he hit. And one of them, before the last one, I think was Albion. One of our inspectors said, I bet Albion's the next one. So we headed there, because the whole time, all these agencies are working together, we'd respond to a device. And then, in the war room, we were up at the FBI, and someone said, yeah, we can be there in 10 minutes, we can be there in 15. And they said, they heard there's a device in Albion, and I said, we got people there already. And they went, so it was just a guess. Sadly, it was right after he left. They didn't catch him in the act. But this was one of his devices, sort of like that thing I X-rayed for that postmaster in Iowa. You've got the containment unit, the pipe, you've got gunpowder, you've got the nails, you've got the switching mechanism, and the shrapnel. And this is what it looked like, and it was nice for evidence collection. He already had these in a baggie for us, which is wonderful, because that's what we usually do. So I did appreciate that. And he had a note in there too, which we'll have a picture of, because in Iowa, some people got hurt. Postal employees opening things, a couple lost a hand or got injured. And he wanted attention, but he said he didn't want to hurt people. So he eliminated the tape on the switch so these wouldn't go off. He still wanted the attention, but he didn't want to hurt anybody. And so this was the letter that was in there. And he had all sorts of writings. It caused a lot of problems. I was a district manager at the time. People were told, leave your mailbox open so when the carrier comes up, they can see inside. We didn't want our carriers open it. So people have long poles, and they're opening these things up. It was terrifying. People were afraid. I mean, it made the national news. This guy was very, it was top stuff. This was like a year after the anthrax, you know, so it was a terrifying time back then. Here's some mailboxes open, and for a couple of days they told people, if your box isn't open, we're not servicing that box. You know, you have to leave it open yourself or open it so that our carriers weren't put at risk. It, here again, yeah, it made all the top news stations. It was big news back when you did there. Another thing we look at is drugs for the mail. Normally with your caulking supplies, you don't get large quantities of crack cocaine like you see in this picture. But people decided to mail that with there. It's stunning now how many drugs are coming through the mail. We did an interdiction a couple weeks ago. In 1 week, we got like 30 packages. It's just stunning now with higher gas prices that they're worried about state patrol. But they ship a lot of illegal narcotics through the mail. And I'm talking marijuana, methamphetamine, heroin, cocaine, you name it. There's a lot of drugs coming through the mail. We work it quite a bit. You know, I talked about my mail nexus earlier. These people here hid the marijuana in a new mailbox. I said, my God, I can't get a better nexus than that. It's an empty mailbox. You know, it's like, I got to be able to work that one. And if I can't, then I might as well retire. But they'll ship this, and marijuana, even in states that have legalized either medicinal or recreational marijuana, it's still illegal federally to send it through the mail, even in all those states. It's a crime. And certainly here, it's illegal. We work these cases. We see quite a bit. Here's some more marijuana. And we only work the larges. If it's a small joint or a small amount, we seize it. We're going after the dealers because people are shipping large quantities of drugs. Because if we can get these off the street, obviously, it makes a bigger impact. Another thing we see a lot of is mail theft. You know, these guys didn't forget their key to their box. One is intelligent and uses bolt cutters. The other guy just uses gravity and his weight and tries to pull this thing down. And they'll attack these cluster boxes. And I respond to a lot of these. And a lot of times it's the top row, like the top 6 boxes will get hit. And I couldn't figure that out at first. I finally asked one of the guys cooperative. He goes, well, I'm opening these, but I want to see who's coming. So he's looking over the top of the box. So I actually want to be lower in the box. He said, I'm not going to get down here and work on this box when I can't see what's happening. So so maybe we should block out the top 2 rows. I don't know. But they'll hit these boxes. And what do you think they're looking for in the mail? Checks. They're looking for checks. They're looking for greeting cards. Yep, information for identity theft, all that stuff. Especially last month before Christmas, they hit them hard, looking for that. Year-round, they're looking for checks. If people have their own rural-style mailbox and they're paying their bills in that box and putting the flag up with a check, they hit those hard. You know, I tell people, I said, you know, take them to work, take them to a blue collection box. Don't put your check there in your outgoing house box, because yes.
We had an incident in my neighborhood where this was happening. Mailboxes are on the street.
Right.
And anyway, a man that walks in the morning, what they do is take the mail out and then they open it up and just throw it on the ground. And they took, I just happened to have a check in there. And what they did was they took my check, they ordered checks with my routing number and my bank name. But they put a different, they put a business on the check.
Right.
And then they went from Wichita to Salina to a sand store, and they wrote the check for $2,700. And of course, my bank was already alerted that the check had been stolen. And so it happened to be a business, and they were trying to go after the business to recoup their money. But it had our routing number and our bank account.
Oh yeah.
They are, yeah.
They're good. And you know, and at least there they pitch the mail, someone saw it, because they'll do one of several different things. They'll discard the mail, or they'll put it all in someone else's mailbox, so this person will say, I got all this person's mail, you know. Or some of them now are really good. They'll take it, and they'll scan it right in their car, and they'll put it back, so it's still in the mail stream. So your check will get there. You won't know anything's up, so you're not calling me, but they're counterfeiting a check based upon your check information. Yeah. They do that now. They do that with businesses. They'll steal business checks. And we're working a case right now nationwide called Operation Homeless, where they're stealing these business checks. They're making counterfeit checks like happened to you. But then they're smart. They know that we always grab the video from the banks. So they're going to the homeless shelters. And they're finding people for $100 that will go in and cash checks for them at the banks. Because they don't want to show up on video. They'll park a couple blocks away, out of the reach of the video, and instruct these people to go in, cash this check, and come back. They've got them a room for the night. They give them some food, sometimes drugs, $100, and then these people. And a lot of times we catch these people, but then they see if something happens, then they peel off. Now we did pick off. That happened here in Omaha and Lincoln. We got the homeless people, but then out in Salt Lake City, they arrested the 3 main guys. It was just pure luck. The cops out there saw them going through a business area stealing mail, and it was our people. So that was awesome. So sometimes you get lucky like that. Yeah.
Can we go back for a second? What tipped you off with the marijuana in the mailbox?
Oh yeah, I should have gone through that. Yes, yeah, good point. On the drugs, sometimes we get tips from people. I love it when like
the one that you had up there with the new mailbox.
The new mailbox, yeah. That was an interdiction one. We go to the airport a lot. Virtually 95% of the drugs come from Southern Texas and Southern California. It's organized Central American drug cartels. They bring them across the border on foot because they don't want customs to open them at the border. So these are all mail from Southern Texas and Southern California. In fact, in Southern Texas, the first stop for the Eagle with the express mail lands in Houston, and we run dogs by all of those packages, and sometimes half of them are drugs from the 785 zip code of Southern Texas. Just mind-blowing amount. So we interdict a lot of them that way. We get tips from people. This girl called and said, "Hey, I just broke up with my boyfriend, and by the way, he gets an ounce of cocaine a week from his brother in Arizona." And those are great. I love those kinds because they always turn out to be true. Or we'll get carriers who are really observant. They'll say, "This person suddenly started getting a lot of express mail from Texas, from California." So we can start a mail watch where we say, "Hey, before the next one is delivered, call us." And we can run a dog by it. If the dog hits on the package, I get a federal search warrant to open up the package. And then, if it is drugs, I seal it back up. I make a controlled delivery. I dress up as a letter carrier. Yep, and I've got my pals hidden nearby. If that package is accepted, a few minutes later, boom, all hell breaks loose and they hit the house. I've probably done that 100 times. Only twice someone not accept the package for their reviews suspicious. Because a lot of times, hey, you're not the regular carrier, or sometimes I'll just go to the supervisor. I can make up anything. Because I say there was a truck accident, we're just trying to get these delivered, didn't you see it on the news, make me feel bad. It's like, oh my God, the guy was killed. Oh, I'm sorry, Or, one time the guy's like, "What's this?" I said, "Well, I think it's a package for you." I apologize, And the amazing thing is, they're suspicious at first, but they know what I'm holding and they want it. So most of the time they'll take it. And when we hit the house, usually they'll surrender. Because we don't fight fair. We go with 10 people heavily armed. You know that you're done when we come in. That's the idea. It's for safety. Occasionally we get a runner on the back door. Of course, we have the whole house surrounded. And you don't want to be the one where the person gets through your sector. And so I've tackled a couple people. Never going to shoot anybody, but and sadly, it's usually women I'm tackling because these guys, the drug dealers, are chickens, and they'll send a package to their girlfriend's house. They don't want it to go to their house. They don't want their house searched. So they'll get their love of their life to accept the packages for them. And so usually these girls will flip on these guys. Once in a while they won't, but usually we say, "Hey, look, we really don't want you. We want him. If you really want to go to jail for this guy." And so then they'll usually say, "Go ahead and call him." So we've hidden nearby or hidden in the house and arrest them. Now, if they're watching from nearby and they've seen us come up, they're not coming. And so you get that once in a while. But we had one time over in Iowa where it was 4 pounds of heroin from Thailand, worth like $500,000. And I went to this girl, and she rolled, and she called the guy, and he didn't come for like 3 days. Now, this was so big that we got an empty unit in the apartment. We waited. Sure enough, we got him on the 3rd day, because he didn't think we'd still be there. He thought every day we'd give up. And so that's why he waited. But yeah, that's the main way we get these things, because where they're coming from, it meets our profile. Now, if they walked across, rented a car in Texas, and didn't get stopped by the state patrol, and made it to Oklahoma and mailed it, I probably wouldn't stop the package, because I'm looking for Texas and California and Arizona, border states. And there's so much of that if we're missing a few from the other ones, well, so be it, because we can't check every package. Obviously, there's way too many packages. That's a good question. Another thing we're seeing tons of right now are these fake checks. There's fake foreign lotteries where people will get a letter saying, congratulations, you have won the El Gordo Spanish lottery. So you're all excited. You're so excited, in fact, you don't even think, did I enter? You know, I bet if you guys don't buy a Powerball ticket, you don't really watch the numbers that night. But this comes with a check too, so you've been told you've won $10 million. And there's one catch. The taxes are $4,000 to get this prize out of Spain, but hey, here's a check for $5,000. So what I want you to do is deposit this check, call me on my burner cell phone up in Canada, and I will give you instructions to wire me that money so I can release your prize. So people do that. They deposit this check. They go online, it looks like it's in their account. They wire real money out. They never hear from these people again. A week later, the check bounces. The bank says, you're responsible for that money to be wired out. You know. We go on TV all the time. We warn people. But when their brain shuts down, when they get this letter sometimes, and all they can think about is how quickly can I get this done? Very sad. We estimate probably about $10 million a month is lost by Americans to this scam. Yeah. And it's all, and these people, the sad thing is they're overseas. They're in London, they're in West Africa. The London ones we can get. The ones in West Africa and some of the Caribbean countries, they take countries with no extradition, and countries where it's so corrupt and they've paid off the right people, we get no cooperation. So we can't get their money back. So if they ask the question, hey, can I get my money back? The answer is no, because it's overseas, but we still want to know about it.
Question. Yeah. What age group are actually taking these checks and deposits?
It's not just the elderly. I have a guy, he's a middle-aged practicing dentist here in town. His wife called me up. She said, he's addicted to these things. He thinks it's like the lottery. He knows they're risky, but he still tries it. So you have people of all age groups do this. You know, it's so it's not like, you know, because people, their brain shuts down when they see that check. So if you take normal functioning adults that see this and think, wow, I finally won. Because a lot of people think they're entitled to win the lottery once in their lifetime. If you saw my odds, you're not. You know, that's, you know, it's not. But a lot of people think that. You know, and so yeah, it's a huge problem. We go on all the time, and they adapt too, because now finally some people are starting to say, hey, I didn't enter the Australian lottery. So now what they'll say is they'll send you a letter and say, well, we got your address, we're getting the address from a website, from a Walmart website or something. You know, they're trying to make up some reason. You know why, but it's a highly effective scheme. There's several letters there. They're all basically, you've won big, but you got to pay us a little bit of money. Here's the check. Call me right away. Don't tell anybody, because this is hush-hush, you know, and then they wire the money. Here's another one. We see all sorts of them. We've got examples of all of them. There's mystery shopper ones, too, where they say, hey, go to Walmart, test their Western Union stuff, wire money, and again, the whole purpose is to get their money. Another thing we see is the powder calls. Any of you had powder packages in your facilities? Okay, you might at some point call the inspectors. We do screen some of the mail. After the anthrax letters of 2001, we developed what's called the BDS, the Biohazard Detection System. Because you might remember these letters, they went to Senator Daschle, Tom Brokaw, the editor of the New York Post. All high-profile people likely to make the news. When this happened, though, every John Smith in the country, if they got a little bit of powder, they thought it was anthrax, you know. And people were terrified to open their mail because it was deadly. We lost several of our people, you know, on the East Coast. It was a terrible thing. And so we developed this BDS. We did the reward. They think the person that sent these killed himself and that's suicide. We'll never know for sure, but we haven't had any since 2001. So that's a good sign. But this BDS, what it is it tests for anthrax. Any first-class letter goes through here, and it's squeezed, and it captures a little bit of the residue that comes out. It's tested for possible anthrax. There's cartridges, and we just had a exercise out in North Platte last week, I think a BDS drill, where we go through these. There's never been a false alert, which is awesome. I mean, considering how many have gone through this. Now, the sad thing is, it only checks first-class letters, so if someone sent anthrax in a box, it wouldn't be checked. But all the ones that came through were in letters. There's the inside of the unit. Very technical units that were made. They've got it in Omaha, Lincoln, Norfolk, Grand Island. And I know you're all from different states too, so you've got them in your major cities too, you know, whichever states you're with this, Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, and Kansas. Okay. Yeah. Good states, I like Nebraska, of course. Iowa, I live there. Missouri, I go every year to Lake of the Ozarks. So, Kansas, I like that too. Good states. Here's our inspectors there. Full biohazard equipment, so they can go in and actually test the stuff and retrieve it and work in conjunction with local hazmat. Another thing we talk about is safeguarding the mail. We're seeing a ton of mail theft. We have a thing called the Financial Crimes Database. If the customer goes on the USPS website and does a mail theft complaint, it populates into our system, and I can see these every day. A lot of mail is stolen, from the mailboxes. Fortunately, not a lot of it from our vehicles, but once in a while it is. We tell the carriers, obviously, secure your vehicles. If you have visual on your car or your truck, obviously you're fine. But if you're going into a business and can't see your vehicle, don't leave it open, or unlocked, because someone can take whole trays of mail at a time. Don't hand out mail on the street. We see that with drug packages sometimes. We'll go up to the house with the package, and suddenly someone from across the street, 2 houses down, hey, that's for me. It's like, no, if it's for you, go in that house and let's see you. Because they're picking the house, hey, this person, they know they're out of town, they address it there, and then just wait till I show up. Oh, I'm sorry, I was just down at a friend's house. No, it doesn't work that way. Although if it's a drug package, then we'll give it to them because we want to arrest them. So in that case, we'll make an exception. Theft, we see employee activities, violations, thefts of the mail. I've seen some with HCR drivers lately where they stop and they rifle through the mail. We had some with Verizon phone returns, no problem with that. We had one that's kind of sad. Week before Christmas, we got a call that there's all these packages kicked off out of this white truck, and people were just swarming on these packages and taking them up in this neighborhood. And it turns out it was smart clothes stuff where we work with FedEx on these packages. And they were like cell phones and Christmas gifts and things like that. And we were able to figure out who was the truck driver because the description was really good, and only one person out of 10 drivers met this description, so that made it easy. So we interviewed him, and at first he was trying to deny it. I said, I've already seen the video that the neighbor shot. I haven't seen any video. Everyone knows there's always video, so it's a great bluff, And I asked him, I said, why did you kick out the packages? I said, how many did you kick out? He goes, oh, just a few. I said, that sounded like it was like 80. I counted. He goes, yeah, there was about 80. And what it is he was picking these up, and he forgot to make a couple of deliveries. He didn't want to go back to the trucking firm, and he didn't want to go back and make it right, which he should have. And so he stopped, and because he pitched all the packages, then when he showed up, it looked like he delivered them all. Not good. The press picked up on it, because all these packages being on there. And they were stolen and gone right away. You don't know who took them, from there. But that was bad. Yeah, destruction. He was pitching the mail, delay of the mail. I had one in Lincoln. We look at customer complaints because usually they're based in fact. You'll get a few people that are disgruntled that make stuff up, but this one lady said that, I just haven't been getting my mail and no one's picking up my mail. And she said she had a disagreement with her carrier about a week ago over something. They had some heated words. So then we decided to check this out. So I put some test things that should have been delivered to her that day. We put some in her outgoing thing, and we watched and taped. And the carrier, he didn't pick up her stuff. At the end of the day, the route, he put her stuff back. He didn't deliver her stuff either. This went on for a couple of days. And so we confronted him at first. He denied it, and then we showed him the video. And it's like, that's not how you're supposed to settle your disagreement with this person. So obviously he had to be removed because that wasn't good. And we had another one where when I was in Des Moines, there's several people, Drake University was in Des Moines, and several of these women were saying this carrier was a peeping Tom staring in their window. And they said it was so bad that even if he saw them, he wouldn't leave unless there was a male there to scare him off. He would just like stare in their windows. And so we set up video in this one. I said, just do your normal stuff. Don't do anything unusual to try to really attract his attention. And sure enough, in the video, he's just staring in. And so we interviewed him, and he said, well, we have to check to see if there's elderly people that, are fallen or hurt or whatever. I said, this is a college. And these 20-year-olds are not dying, to that extent. And so they removed him from the route, and they put him on customer service on the phones. But the problem is that when people would call in, he would try to get them to do phone sex with them on the phone. And so, you know, we're talking, it's like, you gotta work, you gotta get rid of this guy, you know? And then he ended up working at the amusement park there. It's like, oh my God. He was out of our hair, and we gave him a heads up, you know, as to who they had, you know. But, yeah, bad stuff. Tampering, we have different posters, the different crimes we do that go up there. We ask people to report, and we get good reports. People are pretty observant, you know, our neighbors are and stuff like that. And so we do that. Threats, we work a lot of threats. Sadly, sometimes people don't play well together in the workplace, so we work those. And those, sometimes they're veiled threats, sometimes they're real specific. You know, I had one when I first started. In fact, it was the first week I was working where this one employee at the plant didn't like what the supervisor done, so he threatened to take a broomstick and do something with it and snap it off and hurt this individual. And so we go to interview him, and he admits it. You know, he didn't even try to deny it. So I start to arrest him. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, well, you know, because my boss didn't take him out if he does. And sure enough, he did. So we see those. We see threats by customers against postal employees, both carriers on the street and window clerks. And sometimes we do educational pieces on those. If someone is a little too hostile at the counter line, customer, we'll go up and try to talk to them, you know. Sometimes they haven't quite crossed the line, but obviously our employees don't have to, you know, put up with that kind of stuff. So we will go out and talk to these people and that type of stuff. And, assaults, we see those, unfortunately, not as much here as in some parts of the country, but it does happen, and we work those too. Oddly, we had a couple lately where it was false reports of assaults. We had 2 in a row where the postmaster said she was assaulted, different postmasters, and they weren't. It turns out they were making the whole story up. We're still trying to figure out why. One of them, she insisted at a certain time, this individual came in, she didn't know him, she was driving, grabbed her when she was in the lobby, and left, went out this way. Fortunately, across the street, the VFW had video pointed right at our post office because they were worried about their members taking open liquor containers out into the street. So they had a video covering the street, big sign in their place saying, "Don't take your beers outside." So, but it was a great video, and she had narrowed the time down. It was after her 2 o'clock smoke break and before her 3 o'clock smoke break. She smoked all the time. And she said, this guy came out in this direction, turn here. So I'm watching the video, I see her come out, I don't see anyone like him, and there's only one door in and out. So then we have her watch the video with us, she's staring at it, and the guy never shows up. I said, "Hey, why do you think he's not in the video?" She said, "I don't know why he's not, but it happened." You know, it's hard to argue the video. So I did my investigative memorandum and submitted it, and then she had the ability to respond and challenge any of my findings, which she didn't. So then she did resign. She never did admit it didn't happen, but it did happen. Yeah. Don't know why. Someone said her office though was being reduced in hours from 8 to 4. So maybe she's thinking, I don't know, going to stress claim based on 8 hours instead of 4. I don't know. We're just speculating, but sadly, I would like to strike her a deal, you know, just to find out why she did it, you know, but we never found out. Assaults on customers or employees. Sometimes kids will take BB gun shots at them. Sometimes people will be real hostile if they don't get a check that they think is due that day. You know, all those things we want to know about. So we'll go out and talk to these people. Try to stop these things before they get too bad. If assault occurs, obviously, only use enough force to ward off the attack. You know, do what you have to defend yourself, but obviously the person's running away, don't chase them down and kill them. You know, you have to balance the amount of force you're using. And if it's robbery or something, give them what they want. Don't use any force. You know, if you can give you know, someone something without getting hurt, obviously everything we have is replaceable except all of us. You know, so that's the main thing. Get a description. Make a note of like, hey, that neighbor was outside and saw something. A lot of neighbors will say, I didn't see anything. But if you know that person was out, then I can say, no, you did. You know, what do you see? That thing in the house. Personal safety, get a description. Obviously, the ability to give someone what they want without getting hurt. You know, that's your first priority. Postal inspector, we actually are still hiring, even though we're shrinking. We have to hire some, or we've disappeared completely. So we have about 4 classes a year, or 25 people, which sort of keeps us in balance, along with retirements and people leaving. If you know anyone that's interested, on the website at the bottom there's a badge with the postal inspector that has our requirements. First of all, you have to be under 37 years of age before you shoot me for that being age discrimination. It's not my rule. It's federal law enforcement. It's an 1811 job series. It's considered hazardous. So you have to work 20 years before you can retire and be vested. You have to retire by 57 because they don't want you to work the job for that. You have to have a 4-year degree. It could be in anything. It does not have to be criminal justice. It could be oceanography. It could be art. As long as it's a 4-year degree, then you're good. Because we have our own academy where we teach you everything you need to know, so it doesn't matter. If you have language skills or other special skills, that helps too quite a bit if you get on there. At our academy, we have a 12-week academy in Potomac, Maryland. It's our version of the FBI's Quantico. We teach academics, the type of laws that we cover, firearms, and if someone's never shot, it's not a problem. It's actually easier to teach someone who's never shot than someone that has bad habits. Physical fitness, defensive tactics, and practical exercises. There's an online application that people can take, and then it's a lengthy process. They try to shorten it up. It can still take up to a year. So we tell people, ideally be under 36, because if you're too close to 37, it probably won't happen in time, and you have to get hired by then. The drug screening, that's an interesting thing, because I'm also an attorney, and I worked at headquarters for a couple years as an inspector attorney, and I would get the people that appealed being fired or not hired on the drug screening thing. And that one, our drug policy, it acknowledges that people might have used like marijuana back in college or something, but you can't have used anything within the past X number of years. You can never have sold drugs for profit or that type of thing. And one of them says you cannot have used marijuana more than 15 times in your life. And this one guy, on his pre-interview for the polygraph, said he used it 13 times. But he failed the polygraph, and after he goes, it was 19. I'm thinking, how do you know? I mean, you keep a diary. Usually people know, I don't use it at all, or I use it all the time. But in his mind, he knew it was 19 times, so he knew he was lying, people 15, which is just amazing. Yeah. So it's, yeah. There's our website for more information, but I know I covered a lot of stuff. I'd be happy to answer questions about that or anything I didn't quite make. Yeah.
I have a question, it's probably more on the OAG side.
Yes.
Recently, because of some things that I know that they've been, portions of our, here in Omaha have been, somebody made a complaint. One had to do with an employee clocking out, or not clocking out, but leaving work early from a different site. And then the other one was because the SOX compliance and the things that are going on within the EMU, that information was given to the IT. And the IT told the supervisor who gave the information. Now, I went online, found out that the Postal Service doesn't have a whistleblower program and we don't participate. Explain why.
Yeah.
We're not willing to protect the people that are willing to tell that the postal bosses aren't doing their job or don't care or don't influence or any of those things.
Yeah, and those probably, we never saw those because those would be IG matters.
Right.
But, there are ways where people can try to report things anonymously, but it's very difficult. Usually, at some point, you can go ahead and report it. It's very unfortunate that happened. I wasn't aware of that, but yeah, you don't want a chilling effect. You don't want people, to, we see that sometimes too, like criminal ones. Someone will say, I want to make give you a tip, I want to be completely anonymous. It's like, yeah, at some point though, if we're going to prosecute this person, or if I'm going to search warrant, we need to, assess your credibility and get your name, this type of stuff. So yeah, that can be a challenge. Yes?
In April, in Wichita, Corporate Hills, there was a fellow who came in and he spent about 45 minutes in the lobby. And eventually he worked it and he stole our passport.
Okay.
Got the whole thing on tape.
Right.
From beginning to end. Police already know who he is. They got a warrant out for him. Now, my question is, can I post it on YouTube? Eventually?
No.
Your expression was wonderful.
Thank you. I've worked with the local police on that. They're working to say, hey, and
after he's arrested and everything.
right. For what purpose?
It's entertaining.
Again, you want to check with your local police though, because if they do a good job of catching this person and prosecuting them, you let them know before you do that, the detective you're working with. You don't want to anger them because next time they might not be quite as responsive, and that type of thing. So. Okay. I love the videos. too.
It is a riot.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
Where was the video done at? Postal equipment?
Yes.
That it doesn't belong to you?
Good point. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's true.
We can't do it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, that's good. That's a good point. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
My son, he's 15,
Right.
brought in a YouTube video the other day of a trash man destroying a postal box.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's got like millions of hits. It is,
Wow.
I was sitting there watching one, and he takes the mail, everything. He didn't even leave the mail on the ground, picked up, threw it in the back of the truck, along with the box and everything.
Where was the video shot at?
That I don't know.
Okay.
But
Hopefully somebody's looking at that, because obviously we love good evidence.
It's got millions of hits, and
Yeah.
it's going, do you guys even do stuff like that? Or?
Vandalism with postal property is a crime. You know, if it's your typical kid hitting a ball, a baseball bat, it's not going to be
I
prosecuted.
mean, pull it out of the ground.
It's only that's different.
Leave the
You know,
things and-
with the kids, if we identify them, we try to talk to their parents with the kids, and parents want to deal out more justice than we can on those things. But yeah, hopefully someone's looking at that one. Yes.
When customers file their complaint, like a mail loss or
Right.
or something like that, through your website,
Mhm.
are they ever contacted by you folks?
Depends. Not automatically.
No, I know it's not
Because
automatic.
there's a lot. People lose a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Sadly.
There's a lot of missing things.
There is,
today.
yes.
Really-
Not all of them are stolen, and not all of them are criminal.
Right.
And it also has to be something we can work. If it's they lost a pair of shoes, that's tough. That was stolen off their porch. I love checks and credit cards because then my bad guys used it somewhere and I can see video.
Right.
So they're not automatically going to get a response. We would need, instead of 1,200 people, we need 12,000 or more to respond. I mean, there's so many mail complaints on that kind of stuff. So if it's something, and they're told, they get a response back that, if more information is needed, you'll be contacted.
Okay.
Yes.
So
They
there's
do-
something that says that there's an acknowledgement.
It is.
that
It's acknowledged that you did this successfully. Congratulations on using the computer correctly. And if we need more information, we'll contact you. But, don't hold their breath if it's something real small.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
How do you determine on like fraud cases, because those are really expensive compensation?
Yes.
How do you make a determination, because you're limited on your resources?
Right. Yeah.
Which cases would be pursuable and which ones?
Well, sadly now I don't work any of those because they're all OIG. So it would be a function of their manpower levels and how big the case is. Usually looking at dollar loss or is a person flaunting it, type of thing. So they just have to look at their resources, and sadly there's fewer of them than us, so they don't get to probably all of them right away like they should. But it's just staffing levels, so they try to look at the biggest ones first, probably. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I got a question. We just recently were told to give our employees a service call this morning. Somebody with a gun. When we come into the postal facility.
Right. Active shooter training, yes.
Duh.
Well, no, that's not the first step, though. If you've gone through the whole training.
We didn't understand the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. She said some of their employees got active shooter training on how to disarm someone with a gun. Obviously, that's a little chilling. That's not the first step. The first step, like if you're in a mall or somewhere else, is to hide. They know there's a shooter. You hide quietly somewhere. You run away if you can. The confrontation is the final step. If they open up your closet, you have no choice. You got to try something. So that's the final step that you take. So we're not asking people to automatically run to the shooter. We're trying to disarm them. First they should hide, go to the safe areas, that kind of thing.
Literally, that's the final step.
It is. It is. If you don't take that step successfully, then yes. Just one second. Yeah.
We were briefed by that, by the OIG and the Inspection Service, with the unions and the management associations on this video. And of course, all the steps, of course, that is the last resort.
Yes.
I guess it's coming out, but we were briefed on that, on how to protect yourself or how to get away from a situation.
Okay.
If you're standing in your post office, where you gonna go to?
Well, and that step might come out quicker in some environments than others. It just depends on the physical situation and layout. Yeah.
When you guys prosecuted someone,
Yes.
they get jail time,
Yes.
and there is a fine to pay, how much of their money do you actually recover? Like that one case you had for $190,000.
Right. Her question was, if someone's prosecuted and a fine is ordered or actually restitution in a case like that, Sadly, you've heard the phrase, you can't get blood from a turnip. Yeah, that's usually the case, especially in fraud cases. People have spent the money. They've lived a higher lifestyle than their salary would allow. The money's gone. You get the order of restitution in case they hit the lottery, or other things, then we can attach and get that money. But like we tell fraud victims, we can get orders of restitution, but don't expect, any significant part of your money back because it's just not there. Yes.
They started producing it, they have false money orders?
No, sadly, there's still a lot of false money orders. They're trying, new security features, some of those are going to help. People still counterfeit a lot of money orders. The problem is that some places will take a money order that's not even that good to a counterfeit, and so that's a problem. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of those, just like you see the fake checks.
It's been a while since I've been to the retail side.
Right.
We're getting 800 money orders in the mail.
Yeah.
We've been transmitting from Nigeria.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
We get those all the time. It does all the time. No. And they try to actually intercept some of that mail because they'll get the mail from Nigeria because it's a hot spot for the fraud. And they'll pick off large numbers of these money orders. So now what they do is they'll go to Togo or another country, they'll go further and mail them from there, so they'll try to hide where it's coming from. So we do try to interdict those also when they hit JFK and we get it coming to New York before they're distributed out.
And the process of that is still going, guys.
Yep. Yeah. And check with your local postal inspector. They might say once a week, put them all in a single envelope and send them to me. So call me each time because there's so many. Is that it?
Oh.
Yes.
Ammunition in the mail is really getting bad. I mean, I've had 3 picked up in the last 2 weeks.
That's non-mailable. Guns, ammunition, things like that, call your inspectors right away.
And they're coming in, it's really getting bad.
Yeah. You let them know, and that, don't wait. You call on that right away, obviously. And yes, because there's shortages of ammunition around the country, so people are making, having to ship and stuff. Yeah. So.
Is that because the inspection service has it?
What do you mean?
The ammunition?
No, that was the other federal agency. We didn't buy as much as ICE and DHS.
Yeah.
I think we have enough for our next qualification, I hope. But we don't have much stockpile. Yes.
There was quite a few COD from pharmacy, and they would be either express mail or a lot of times express mail.
Right.
There seemed to have been a flux of those to come in, and then it's kind of died out. I seem to read something that there were some pharmacies out east that got in trouble over people getting a lot of these express mails with narcotics.
Okay.
Or, it's prescription drugs.
And we do those too, steroids and other prescription drugs. We work those too, not just the street drugs. So we do work those kind of cases.
Do you work with dogs?
Oh, all the time. We don't have our own dogs. We rely heavily upon the local police and state patrol. And they like the practice because it gets their dog stats up. So, yeah, we buy lunch sometimes, whatever we have to. But they're really good about and those dogs are amazing. You can wrap it in all sorts of stuff. Doesn't matter. You're not defeating the dog. They're going to smell it.
We recently flew out of Denver and they had dogs that sniff for bonds.
Oh, yeah.
And they were going just around everybody's carrying out like
They do, yeah.
just sitting
I worked at
and having the dogs sniff.
I worked in D.C. for a couple of years. They bring one of the commuter trains and walk them up and down. So if you had a bomb, they were going to smell it.
If the dog sits, deny.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, thanks very much, Dave.
Okay, thank you very much.